this is a business related podcast, but they asked me, so what tools? You're talking about all this stuff. What tools do business owners need? And I was surprised by the question. Didn't know that was coming. It's fine. And so the answer I came up with, I'm not sure if it'll resonate with the podcast audience or not, but the answer I came up with was that I think the tool that we all need, or the thing that we can all do, we should do, is find a way to find some time every morning and every evening where we can just be quiet, we can be still, and we can reflect. What do you think? Is that the tool that we need? If we've never met before, my name is Jeff. I created this segment, I guess, this feature on Substack as an extension, really, a way to extend the conversation that I start every morning. I host a show called Java with Jeff. It's all about the mindsets that are necessary for growth. And that show is produced for a smallish private audience. And I realize that the things that we talk about there, and I've been hosting that show for over 3 years now. But it's really caused me to do a deep dive on growth mindset, cultures of growth. That's something I work on in my quote unquote day job. It's what I do with clients. I'm working on a book right now about culture of growth. And obviously, if I'm writing a book about it, I think I understand and realize that these mindsets, these things, this mindfulness, all these things that I talk about are not specific to that audience, the Java with Jeff audience. There's things that are relevant to all of us. And so I wanted to expand the audience. I wanted to broaden the conversation so that more people can join the conversation. And so that's why I started this Walk With Me segment here on Substack. I'm still trying to figure this platform out. I'm new to the platform. I know it's not a new platform per se, but as it says in the About section of my Substack called my Sandbox, this is all an experiment. I wanted a place where I could try things and work on things, and we can collaborate on things. I teach undergrads and graduate level students. I've run startup incubators. I am contemplating starting a new incubator that is it's very different than what you usually think about. I've done a couple stints in the venture capital world, and I think there are a lot of people that have interesting ideas that, with a little bit of help, could turn them into something. So, working on an idea there. But my Sandbox it's about trying things and experimenting and figuring things out. It's all about growth. I realized that at some point that everything that I do, everything I've focused on over the course of, I don't know what portion of my career, it's all been about growth and growth mindset. And so that's a little bit of framework I've got here, what I'm focusing on here. And what I'm actually doing right now is I'm walking from my house through the park over to the coffee shop. That's something I've been doing for about 6 years now, maybe something like that, 5-6 years. And this walk has evolved over time. And it's really been a key time for me to work some things out, figure some things out. Um, Part of my meditation is part of my daily practice. And walk with me is my invitation to you to join me for the conversation. I really would like to make this conversation, Jeff, walking and talking. Today, freezing his butt off. I don't need the Echols. And I don't think the temperature is actually all that cold. It's probably about 20 degrees or so. The wind is blowing hard. It's been a cold, snowy winter here relative to a lot of recent years. So here we are. It's cold again today. But back to that question. Back to the real thing I wanted to talk about, I guess. Podcast host asked me that question. What's something? They mentioned that other, past guests, they had a checklist or they had, this tool or that tool, something they recommended, whatever. I wasn't expecting that question, which is fine. I would prefer. I prefer unscripted conversations. I'm pretty sure, but I hosted an interview show for 3 years. I like to think of myself as a decent interviewer, a decent conversationalist, and I love those questions that make you think. And so I wasn't expecting this question, and my answer was, I think that we all, business owners or not, I think that we all need to find the time. And I understand that there are plenty of people that could look at me and say, hey, there's some privilege involved with you being able to walk from your house to the coffee shop and back every day. And I might grant you a little bit of that. Yes, I live in a place by choice that's very walkable. Hi, Nicole. Good morning. It is cold. I was saying this a second ago. I think the temperature is like 20 degrees or something, but the wind is blowing hard again. So right now it's at my back, so it's not too bad, but it's cold. And I'll come back to the subject here in a second. I noticed on Friday, I guess it was, they opened up part of this path. So I think I can get all the way over to the new stairs up to the street over there. So we're going to try and do a little exploring this morning. I think we can walk all the way along the creek today. So we'll see how that goes. But I have been told before that there's some privilege in being able to do this. And, okay, I do live in a very walkable neighborhood, again, by choice. And I've been here 30 years now. As of Thanksgiving, I closed on my house 30 years ago, the day before Thanksgiving. So I choose to live at this location where I can walk. I prioritize the time. You could say, oh, you're lucky you have time, etc. I used to do this. My kids are older now. I don't have to worry about getting people up for school or any of that stuff anymore. But when they were not older, I prioritized the time. Right? We wouldn't have had the same view because it would have been 5 o'clock in the morning when I was doing this. So this is something that I have done with intention for a number of years. Nicole knows the story of why this started. I'm not going to rehash that today, but this is a choice. I do this every day. And so I understand that there are some that come at it from the point of view that, not everybody can do this. That's fine. You can think that, and we only do the things that we prioritize. So I'm going to say that. I'm going to leave that at that point. So they opened this part up. And the stairs are over there. But now you can also go that way. This structure here. So what the deal is here is Indianapolis, like in a lot of older cities, had a combined sewer system that nobody dealt with for literally centuries, I guess. And we were under a consent decree with the EPA for a long, long time in violation of clean water, etc. And we should have been under a consent decree. This creek right here, for decades, had signs like it was, they weren't very far apart. There was a lot of signs that said basically, don't touch or drink the water, right? That's a problem. And so they've been doing what they've been calling the big dig, where they're separating the sewer systems. People have already tagged this wall, but so according to the signage, right here at this structure, on top of this structure, they for a couple of years, they apparently tunneled 250 feet down to do whatever it is that they do to separate the sewer systems. And so here we are on the top. I assume there's some sort of pumps or something running there, but that's behind me. But it's good work, right? It's important work. So we made it all the way over here. We can now see a little bit. I mean, they did a lot of destruction, of course, during the construction. A lot of trees came down and whatnot, but I have been impressed as these contractors have worked in different points in the city to do this. They have they've backed out of the sites. They backed out of their work sites very, very cleanly, very nicely. So kudos to them. All right. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. The idea of privilege to take time to walk or to be quiet or whatever, because I do think that we all need that as a tool, the ability every morning and every evening to be quiet, to be still. And I'm saying that just to break the cycle, right? And like I said at the beginning, I've hosted Java with Jeff for 3 years, and what that has become, or what that has caused me to do over the years, is because I don't plan ahead for these episodes. All the things that I talk about are either things that I'm working on. I mean, it could be client work, and I'm talking about clients specifically. I anonymize everything, but I talk about things that I see in organizations that I'm working with, or business owners that I'm working with. I talk about conversations that I have with different people at times, or I pull things from inspiration that I find in different books, or on different social media posts. And so a lot of mornings I find myself, and especially now, and this is problematic, but I find myself waking up and relatively quickly getting into the scrolling. We are bombarded by so much. The social media things that are going on with our families, with our friends, with our businesses. We're just bombarded all the time. There's so much. We need to be able to cut the cord, so to speak. We need to be able to distance ourselves from the noise and from the distraction. And I think that silence and being still is something that we should all strive to employ. And I know people can say, oh, well, I have to hit the ground running because the kids or, whatever the reasons are. And I don't discount any of that or diminish any of that. I understand those seasons of life. And maybe that means setting your alarm 5 minutes earlier. I don't know. Right. But I do know that the things that are truly important get prioritized. And I was having this conversation with a college kid, and I was complaining that they didn't have any time. It's like, okay, well, I get it, right? Class and things. And also, you'll never have this much time available to you for the rest of your life. So there's that piece of it. But you start talking about what they're doing, what they do with all of their time. And of course, they spend a good amount of time. This person in particular, they spend a good amount of time scrolling on TikTok. And I am not here to hate on TikTok or scrolling. I haven't spent much time on TikTok for a while, but I actually kind of like the platform. And I do my own scrolling. But what are we prioritizing? I mentioned this earlier on Java with Jeff that back when I hosted Context and Clarity Live, which is just an interview show, I interviewed an author named Andrew McConnell. He's got a book on Stoicism for Business. And it's called Get Out of Your Head, I think. And he talks about, or he told me about, and I've actually used this in my own work. But when he's coaching a CEO or somebody like that, he'll say, okay, well, what are your top 5 priorities? Make a list. And then he'll say, okay, I want you to document every minute of every day for the next month. And then, of course, he'll compare that documentation to the list. And if things on the list aren't showing up, time that's spent, the problem, right? They aren't truly, I think they're not truly being prioritized. So all that to say, yes, all that to say that we have the ability. Can we find 5 minutes or 15 minutes? Yes, we can. Right? There is no way that we absolutely cannot find 5 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you want to turn this practice into, you can find it. It may mean going to bed 15 minutes earlier, whatever it means, whatever has to happen, you can find a way to do it. But the point is not for me to preach about that. The point is, think about the transformation that 5 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, whatever you want, of quiet stillness at the beginning and end of the day to bring to you and to your business. The ability to get out of the chaos, the ability to adjust perspective, the ability to find a little bit of calm. I mean, think about what that could do. And that's why that was my answer on the podcast interview is I just think that, I've been there and done that. So many stories over the course of my career about burnout, about anxiety. At one point, I had a job. I was downtown Indianapolis. It was like a 15-minute drive from my house. I'd get in my car, and as soon as I crossed over the railroad tracks that are right before I get into downtown, I started having chest pains. That's the kind of pressure, that's the kind of tension, the kind of anxiety. I mean, obviously, that could kill a person. But we need to be able to find ourselves, find ground, center ourselves, find quiet, and to be able to reflect on what's important and reflect on what's necessary, what serves us. Right? That's the bottom line. And we've got to be intentional about doing that. So I believe that those are the necessary tools. All right. I made it to the coffee shop. I'm going to go get warm. Thanks for walking with me, and I'll see you tomorrow. See you, Nicole. Thanks.